Thank you, Una. So, Reboot Representation is an amazing coalition, nonprofit, where companies have come together under the mission to double the number of Black, Latina, and Native American women graduating with computing degrees by 2025. And the 21 companies in the coalition know that no one company created this inequity thing that we see in tech today, and no one company can fix it alone. And so it's going to take the power of the collective to make strategic, intentional investments that are really going to make systemic changes and move the needle forward. So I am very excited to be able to be part of this conversation. I want to talk to you and my amazing crew of panelists around the topic of championing future leaders, investing in pathways to tech. There were three key points in the ACT report that sit with us, and that would be one, advocate for CS to be required in all schools; two, build systems capacity to create more computer science teachers at all levels and invest in CS faculty within colleges and education; and three, invest in organizations that connect talent from underrepresented groups to tech careers. So with that, I let me just introduce our panelists real quick, and then we're going to dive into conversation. We always run out of time and have so much amazing stuff to say. Let me first introduce Amber Field. She's the Chief Program Officer at Project Basta, where they are working to bridge the gap between first-generation students of color and their first job through career prep and employer relations. Marcus Sawyer. He's the founder and CEO of EQ Community, and they're focused on they're a professional network, and they're working towards building and accelerating diversity and inclusion for people of color by really focusing on community and a safe learning environment. Thank you, and welcome, Marcus. And Dr. Katie Hendrickson, she is the Chief of Staff at Code.org, and Code.org is a nonprofit that is dedicated to expanding participation in computer science through engagement, intentional school participations and partnerships, as well as state and federal advocacy. So welcome, everybody. I'm going to jump right in with questions. Amber, I want to start with you. Can you talk a little bit about how Project Basta is helping to close the employment gap for first-generation students?
Sure. Welcome. Thanks so much for having us today. I'm really excited to be here and part of this conversation on behalf of Basta and the students that we get to work with. So I think if we all were to go back and look at our own experiences of when it was time to get a job, we knew we needed to tighten up our resume and start networking and look for opportunities and, practice interviewing skills. And we know that young people are doing those things, yet they're still not connecting with career pathway jobs. And so since 2016, Basta has been singularly committed to bridging the gap between first generation students, that's students who are the first in their families to go to school, or have perhaps a sibling who's gone ahead of them, and connecting them with jobs that offer salary, benefits, room for growth, and use the really hard earned degrees that they have worked incredibly hard to secure throughout their college careers. And so when we think about first gen students and some of the barriers they're facing and what they need, it's really demystifying the job search process. I think when you are if you haven't been the first one to go to school, you need to connect with people. You need to connect with the decision makers, or what steps you're supposed to take, or even, what internships. And so through our Basta programming, young people go through 10 weeks or 50 hours of content and career readiness programming to understand not only what their strengths are and, what it is they want to get out of their work experience, but again, the resume, the cover letters, prepping for interviews, and connecting them and working really closely alongside employer partners who are committed to diversifying their talent pipelines. We believe that a bridge is built from both sides. And so not only are we working with the young people, but we're also working with employers who are committed to working alongside first generation students as well.
Awesome. That is so cool, and thank you for calling out some of the barriers that you're helping the students to break through. Can you talk a little bit more, a little bit deeper about the programming that is helping the tech industry access these amazing underrepresented young adults?
For sure. So one of the things I was saying before is that it's also about employers who are committed to diversifying their pipelines. And so through our programming, fellows come into BASTA and are able to have access to events and to companies that perhaps they would not have had access to previously or outside of BASTA programming. So a fellow or a job searcher at any point in their experience with BASTA would just have access to partners who are offering informational interviews, events that allow them to learn more about the industry and the specific roles within that industry, and really build network, build up that network of people who are really committed to championing them and connecting them with opportunities. So the events that we lead, we have, and also just entry level positions. Our employer partners are saying that we will be their talent pipeline. And so when they have opportunities that come up, we connect them directly with our fellows. So we sort of do the hard work of finding their incredible talent and really help to connect them with that.
I think those connections are so critical and so key for students that need that extra assistance with regards to navigating the system in this process, which is a great segue to Marcus. Can you talk a little bit about your experience and your journey and how that led you to launching the app?
Yeah, sure. So, just at a real high level, I had somewhat of maybe a non-traditional business background. I started in sports, so I was playing professional soccer in the UK at a scholarship level. But then, after that, after being on the sales floor for a tech company, I was then able to get the opportunity to move more into product and some of those areas, and just learn a little bit more around integrations and how companies are set up. And then I had this opportunity really to build a digital transformation for a $24 billion company, and I became a Fortune 500 exec, which meant I was buying, building, and investing in HR tech companies. And I got some great opportunities. I was on the board at Microsoft Services and a few other things. And I just looked around and I saw less and less people that looked like me as I started to climb the ladder. And so for me, it was really about creating an environment that will empower people to get to that next stage. And so we focus on mid to senior level roles within tech. So people that are currently within the tech industry or want to get in the tech industry and want to make over 100K. And then we partner with organizations that say, hey, we want to do something around DE and I, but we're not really sure how. So my thinking was, what am I passionate about? I want to help people get access to more opportunities. What do I know about? I've been in the recruiting industry for 18 years. And then where is there an opportunity to drive things forward? And just at a real high level, the areas that we support these individuals on are what I really call the 4 Cs. So making sure that you've got access to a community that's going to support you. So people you can bounce ideas off of. You've got those connections that can open doors, and then you've got visibility on the careers. And then the 4th C ultimately leads to that capital, which would really accelerate yourself and your family to transform into whatever you want to be and whatever you want to do. So that's a bit about my journey in the background and some of the work we're doing at EQ.
I love those 4 Cs. I just want to remind the audience members the link at the bottom. Make sure you can drop your questions in there and we will try to get to them. But Marcus, to continue a little bit further, can you talk a little bit more about how the EQ community is really focusing on and how they've worked towards accelerating access to diverse talent?
Yeah, so just to give some examples, there are many situations where, like Amber had mentioned before, there's a kind of challenge around like the visibility and the network that you have to see what's available. So firstly, you come in based on interests, so things that excite you in and around the business world. So that could be crypto, it could be wealth creation, it could be just your like learning about your side hustle. And then we learn a bit more about you inside the community, and then there are companies that are interested in getting connected with you. So with the companies, we drive referrals, because a lot of time we've heard is that the best way we get talent is through referrals. The challenge with that is if you're getting referrals from the same folks, you're going to get the same folks inside the organization.
Yeah.
So we focus on that mid to senior level. So even when you hire people inside your organization at mid to senior, guess what? They're going to refer people into your business as well. And just like a real anecdotal kind of story, we had one person that came into the community. They ultimately 10x'd their salary. They got over $1 million in stock, and that was because they were just referring people and becoming an ambassador inside of the community. So it's really about helping each other out, but in a deliberate way.
I love deliberate. My word of the year has been intentional. So
Okay.
with that, how can the audience members help to amplify the work that's happening?
Yeah, so if you would like to be part of the community as an individual, there's a way for you to join at eq.community. If you're a company and you're thinking about how do you like build out your referral network, how do you get access to more like, visibility on the talent that exists, we can also connect you in that way. I think one of the things that you can maybe do internally, and so just like outside of EQ, is really think through your referral strategy. Like, are you getting the referrals that you want to drive diversity and inclusion inside of your organization? And that's a big topic that we have conversations about. And also, are you able to retain that talent when they come in? Are you creating that environment where they feel safe and they feel like they can accelerate and thrive? So those are just some of the maybe things that you could think about inside your organization, but we're happy to drive referrals to companies as well.
Awesome. I actually want to throw that same question over to Amber. What can the audience do to help amplify the work that's happening with your organization?
Oh, I would say that think about helping with exposure. I think not only are we trying to connect young people to those companies that maybe they wouldn't have access to, but that companies would be really open and excited by the talent pool that's out there. I think one of the things that Marcus said is that maybe they're going to the same folks, but this really allows them to expand all of the people, all the young people that are out there that are ready and eager and excited. We look at the pool of predominantly Latino and Black college students that Basta works with. Those students who go through our programming, 80% of them are securing these career pathway jobs with these incredible companies within 6 months. That number shoots up to over 90% within 12 months. And so where companies are really eager to bring in young talent and incredible talent, the Basta programming is allowing that to happen. And so one of the things that I would say to employers and to partners is really about access and exposure and in providing opportunities for people to learn more about your company and sort of pulling back the curtain on what it means to work in this industry or to work at your particular company and all of the different ways that can look. And rather than just, sort of focusing in on perhaps a small group of people that you might have focused on before, really look at how you can expand and welcome people into the organization and the work that you're doing. So I would say it's about being open to exposure, open to access, pulling back that curtain so that young people have access to it. And one last thing I would share is that 1 in 4 of the young people that are interviewing in the companies through Basta, they are securing those great jobs. And so we are certainly it's filling the need that companies have as well.
I love that. So let's go a little bit earlier in the pipeline. Katie, I want to definitely bring in your voice and the amazing work happening at code.org. So can you talk a little bit more or talk about how code.org is expanding access to computer science in schools, as well as some of the initiatives that have had the greatest impact?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, first of all, so much for having me here. And it's so great to hear about the work that's being done in the workforce and in tech companies to make sure that there is a welcoming environment for these students, because we focus on the K-12 space, and after that point, then there's still a lot of barriers. So it's so cool to be talking about this entire pipeline, and great to see part of this overarching larger community. Generally, so we see ourselves as part of the movement to change K-12 education to essentially create a foundational new subject of computer science in schools. Our vision is that every student, no matter where they're going to school, they have the opportunity to learn computer science. And we work towards that by focusing on the system as a whole and basically changing the education system to make computer science core and foundational, but also recognizing that there are these really pervasive gaps in access, opportunity, and participation for underrepresented students, and finding ways to support those particular student populations. So we focus most of our work across the United States, but some of our work is expanding globally as well. Particularly, and I'm going to talk about these 4 pieces, these 4 quadrants of our strategy for how we're trying to achieve this vision. And the first part, this is really global, which is inspiring students and teachers to learn computer science through the Hour of Code and through marketing with diverse role models, showing people who are doing computer science as a career and showing how cool it is and how different people are succeeding in this and thriving. And globally, we see Hour of Code happening across a lot of different communities. We see tens of millions of students engaging in Hours of Code during CS Ed Week in December. So that's kind of quadrant 1. So we also want to have the courses available in elementary, middle, and high school. So code.org has also developed free courses and curricula for elementary, middle, and high school to provide an accessible but also a rigorous computer science learning experience. We're working to ensure that culturally relevant pedagogy is embedded into our courses. We continually update them with best practices. We work to make them engaging and approachable and avoid biases. And in order to make sure that those courses and curricula are reaching places that haven't had computer science before, the third element of what we do is to actually work with teachers. So our strategy is to find teachers who want to teach computer science, who haven't taught computer science before, and work with them to develop the confidence and the skills to begin teaching computer science. So these are teachers of math, science, art, history, language arts, media specialists who are excited about doing this new thing. They don't have the computer science background, but we and our network of 60 regional partners across the country and some new international partners are working with these teachers to ensure that they're able to take their students through this rigorous experience. And then the fourth quadrant of what we do is to essentially change the policies of the education system. So at the national, the federal US level, the national level in other countries, and then at the state level in the United States, changing the state policies to make computer science part of the education system.
Yes, all of those quadrants are so important. So I know that you guys are not short of being bored or being shy over there. So I think that one thing that is definitely top of mind to all those that have been paying attention with regards to education over the last 2 years and the lapse the students have had in reading and math. Is there anything that Code is doing specifically to help handle or address that? And then also top of mind for me is at the later portions of the pathway, we know that tech transcends industry. And then as you were talking about teacher training and having the teachers have that lens, we know that everything marries with tech. So history can marry with tech and art can marry with tech. And so how are we also helping the teachers understand that as they are trying to teach this current generation of students?
Yeah, that's such a great question and such a great lead into exactly what we're focused on. We recognize that schools right now and districts are focused on getting students back up to speed on core subject areas. There are a lot of different competing priorities. But what we also know from research is that computer science helps students in other content areas. Computer science helps to develop critical thinking, creativity, reasoning, skills that are also really helpful in these core content areas of math and reading. And so students who learn computer science, that's going to support their skills in other content areas too. So at code.org specifically, we're working to develop more of these modular units that teachers can use to embed computer science concepts into other subjects. So particularly at the elementary school level, we have these computer science connections modules, and these are intended for teachers, a general classroom teacher, maybe who's teaching a math lesson or a science lesson or a history lesson, to support the teaching of that content area and also develop some understanding of computer science content areas by embedding these two areas together. So we're really excited about this. And what I'm also really excited about is that this will enable a different way of implementation of computer science in K through 5, where it doesn't have to be like this extra standalone thing. This can really be done in that other class or in that other content area time. And it is going to be incredibly powerful in engaging students in elementary school in those early grades before they start to develop stereotypes about computer science, before students start to see portrayals on media and see that computer science might not be for them. They can start to actually experience it and see, wow, I'm really good at this. I really enjoy this. I want to do more of this.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit more about the state and federal advocacy, and then what are some of the 2023 goals?
Yeah, that's something that we're really focused on, is making sure that, you know, we're not just getting computer science in schools, but we're also making sure that it sticks and that it stays there. And part of that is making sure that, you know, we have computer science is treated the same way at the state level as math, science, language arts, history. Those core content areas are treated. So, you know, developing computer science standards for K-12, or teacher certifications or credentials to teach computer science. These are things that a lot of states didn't have until a couple of years ago. And now there's just this groundswell of states recognizing that they need to kind of create some of these policy areas to support and continue supporting their teachers in computer science. Two of the things that we've seen that have the biggest difference, one of them is requiring that schools offer a computer science course. And this is one of the recommendations of the ACT report, that schools, you know, we want to support them in doing it, but we also need to have that state level requirement that is similar to state level requirements for other courses. And we're also seeing now a new policy that we're starting in our coalition, our advocacy coalition is starting to pursue, which is a graduation requirement in computer science. So currently 5 states require all high school students to take a computer science course before graduating from high school. And in the state that has kind of fully implemented this, they've rolled it out, and we've now seen what it looks like for all students to have to take a computer science course. We're seeing some incredibly promising work for increasing diversity in computer science. So not just in those intro required courses, but in all computer science courses, we're seeing them virtually eliminate their gaps for female students, for students based on race and ethnicity, for students in poverty, for English language learners. And so there's some really great lessons to be learned here about, you know, how to do this well, and also how when students are exposed to and have a chance to learn computer science, they're more likely to just continue studying it. So we need to make sure that all students have those opportunities and that exposure.
Awesome. I'm going to grab an audience question, and Katie, I'd like for you to start, but Marcus and Amber also weigh in. And the question is, do you think that tech companies have a responsibility to use their incredible power and resources to influence education policy?
Yeah,
Katie.
that's a great question. Absolutely, we need that the power and resources from tech companies to help make these changes. Code.org has an advocacy coalition that works to change these policies together. And it's incredibly powerful when we're all coming together, because it's not just tech companies who are saying that we need computer science in schools. It's education advocates. It's, you know, companies in every industry. You know, everybody is seeing computer science as being core and foundational. And we need to leverage this collective movement to make these changes happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in right here too, for sure. And I speaking to resources, I mean, I think one of the things that employers can do as we're on this journey to standards and streamlining, though, is to recognize that right now, you know, not all tech curriculum is created equal, and so tech companies are uniquely positioned to say, this is what we need to be able to do. This is what young people need to be able to do. And so we can partner with tech companies to help young people with the interview tech prep or the prep for their tech interviews. One of our partnerships with Google right now, they're working alongside over a semester with our fellows to really help them with the skills and the knowledge they need to be able to be successful in those interviews. And so tech companies know what they're looking for and the kind of skills that need to be strong. And so I think that there's those resources that companies can really push in and support young people in being ready for interviewing, being ready to take on those jobs that are out there for them.
Awesome. Another audience question. Are there any resources, and I think that any of you can answer this, are there any resources you suggest for individuals that are not able or ready to earn a BA in tech? Are there, and so it goes on to say, are there any certification programs available or suggestions out there for non-degree seekers? And actually, I want to start, Marcus, with you, because I know that you are focused on more senior level positions. So I don't know if in your community there are those that are not necessarily with a BA or a higher level degree.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying I don't have a BA or a high level degree, and I became a Fortune 500 exec. So there's definitely paths and ways. I think now a lot of my experience and what I've learned is that companies are now hiring in a few areas. They're hiring based on competencies and traits and capacity, but the skills that are required in order to do that job, whatever that may be, say it's an engineer or data science or even data engineering, they are willing, and there are many programs, if you look at some of the big ones, that to give people the ability to take those I wouldn't even call them certifications, but I would call them educational programs, because they're there to actually help you to do the job. And so a lot of the large organizations already do that, and there are recruiting companies that will basically help you get into a job if you complete a program. And there are quite a few of these boot camp programs, and you have to research them and go into detail to figure out like where you want to be, but they absolutely exist. And I think back in the day they did not, which is a great thing. And also they're aware of the skill shortage, or the quote unquote skill shortage, or the perceived skill shortage. And what that means is that if you can find a niche or an area where you're super excited about, but you see an opportunity for growth, I think you should just double down on that and start learning yourself, and you'll find the programs that exist. There's
Awesome.
a lot out there.
Agreed. We'll take another audience question. What are some areas where you see a lot of tech companies investing that are not yielding results? So something they can maybe do better, like what?
Well, I'll start because I live close to Oakland, and there's still a big challenge here with people being displaced from their homes. And I think what you see is that close by, there's a lot of tech companies that are making significant revenue and haven't been able to support the local community. So I think one of the things that tech companies should to do is really ensure that their backyard, so to speak, is also tidy and clean, and people can have an environment to thrive. So I think that's something that we should start to see more of, because it's kind of there's a phase at the moment where you've got the have and the have nots, and the line is very, very thin. And if you find yourself on one side of that line, you can go into a spiral. So I think investing more in the communities is absolutely key, because these are the communities that have helped support you and be your users and help you drive revenue. So that's something I'm pretty passionate about.
Love that. Anyone else?
I think something Marcus was saying before, and I agree. While we're shifting, just continue to look beyond the usual proxies. When we're, there's a particular, perhaps a group of schools that we're recruiting from, or you look at a resume, you're looking for certain evidence on a resume, just looking beyond that. So where we talked about competencies, capacities, traits, potential, those types of experiences, I think one of the things that Basta does is really helping partners look beyond those usual indicators to really help get at diversifying the pipeline.
Absolutely. That is the perfect segue into this next audience member question that says, it sounds like tech companies might be starting a little bit late at the college point to get folks from underrepresented groups into the tech pipeline. At what stage in the career process should tech companies get involved? And I want to start with this one because I love the diversity that we represent in different portions of the pathway. And I think that one of the challenges has always been really connecting the dots between the amazing organizations doing great work for the student, for the learner to actually be a real pathway to get them from kindergarten up to the boardroom or entrepreneurship if that's what they choose. So for this question, where it says at what stage should tech companies get involved? For me, I am in Reboot. We are encouraging companies to invest in higher education because we don't want to say just because you haven't had access exposure in K-12, it doesn't mean that you can't be a tech professional. We want to, double down on not giving up on this portion of the pathway. But we know that early access exposure and everything that you guys said with regards to community building, access exposure, visibility are very important in K-12. What do you think with regards to tech companies and investments? And I'm going to first throw it over to Katie, because you might be biased, focused on K-12, but what do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest thing is just ensuring that these students have the opportunity to learn it in high school. Students are incredibly unlikely to continue taking computer science and learning these skills in college if they haven't even attended a high school that offers it and they haven't had that experience before. Almost half of all high schools in the country still don't offer a single computer science course. So that means that those students who attend 50% of high schools have never seen a class that offers computer science until they get to college. And at that point, it might be too intimidating, or it might not be something that they feel like they want to study. So, I would say look at your local community, look at the schools in your state and your region, and what schools are offering computer science. And let's make sure that it's in every high school and every student has those opportunities.
Amber?
Yeah, I think, one of the things we focus on as we think about and we're excited about, partnering with universities is just from the moment that young people step on campus, that they're always thinking about exposure and what their options are out there. I think that it's really creating an experience in their college experience that allows them to just know what all the options are. So we think that just recognizing that the day you step foot on campus, and we would want employers to be out there, starting connecting and giving them access to those opportunities.
Awesome. Ooh, team, we have 2 minutes left. So I want to close with looking ahead. What is the one thing that you're most excited about? And I'm going to start with Marcus.
The one thing I'm most excited about in the context of the world of work or the future of work is that we will have a more diverse leadership inside of organizations that will empower people to get access to opportunities that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I'm really encouraged by the amount of companies that are being started just generally, and then also what the future of an organization looks like in context of the companies that exist today. In the next 10, 12 years, there's going to be some rock stars that come out that we don't even know who they are and how they. So I'm just optimistic for that future, and then hopefully the leadership is a lot more diverse inside those organizations to then drive diversity within the communities. So that's what I'm excited about.
I love that. Amber?
Yep. We are excited about the opportunity to partner with employers, the continued energy around really diversifying the talent pipeline. Employers that want to meet more young people to bring into their companies, and then being able to say, to help do that work alongside them so that they don't have to do it themselves. We're really excited about that.
All right, Katie?
Yeah, so just really excited about this energy and momentum and excitement from companies who are thinking about this now. We saw over the summer almost 1,000 CEOs sign a letter encouraging their states to expand K-12 computer science, and 50 governors sign a compact from the National Governors Association saying that this is a priority for them. This is huge and super exciting. And yeah, just definitely keep thinking about K-12 and how important this is for building the pipeline and ensuring students come out prepared. You can go to code.org/help to see a number of ways that you can get involved.
All right. Marcus, Amber, Katie, thank you for the work that you were doing and that you were leading. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for this amazing panel. For those that didn't get your questions asked, connect with all these amazing leaders on LinkedIn or other forms of social media, and I'm sure they're excited to continue to let you know how you can get involved and in touch. Thanks all.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.